Hello and welcome to this month's featured interview with our Meet the Coach from ICF Minnesota. My name is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami. I'm the communications co-chair and your facilitator for this month's interview. And I'm so excited to share with you Deb Enloe. Welcome, Deb.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me here today.
I'm so excited to share more about you. You and I both serve on the board. You serve in professional development. So we've gotten a chance to get to know each other a little bit through our interactions with the board. And I can't wait to share more about the type of coaching you do.
Thank you.
Awesome. So without further ado, I will share more about you and your professional bio, and then we'll launch right into the questions. Deb is the president and CEO of Genuine Compass and a certified diversity coach through CoachDiversity Institute. Prior to launching Genuine Compass, Debra spent more than 25 years in a variety of roles, from entry level to global executive leader, within organizations ranging from about 15 employees to 160,000 employees. So Deb has a passion for leading with empathy based on her experience in these different roles. She authentically seeks to understand what is at the root of any problem, and strives to remain neutral when listening, an important skill for any coach. She provides critical subject matter expertise and draws upon skills acquired through leading a global team, including skill sets of change management, coaching, consulting, facilitation, curriculum design, training, documentation, and evaluation. You are quite a well-rounded individual, Deb. Okay, so Deb is going to be sharing with us today more about the work she does within her coaching, and tell us a little bit more about what she does. So Deb, we're going to get started with the first question. What brought you to coaching?
Yeah, interesting question. And I'm sure, like many coaches, it wasn't necessarily a path I was intentionally pursuing. For me, it all started when George Floyd was murdered, being based in Minneapolis, and I was leading a global team. And as a Caucasian person, I found myself a little bit horrified at the fact, like, I had no language that I was comfortable in sharing with my team, or even wrapping my head around the events that were occurring. The organization I worked at the time chose to be silent and did not feel it was a work conversation to be had. So that led me to CoachDiversity Institute. They had a 3-day foundational program, and a day and a half into that, I was like, I want to go the full coaching program. So then I switched my registration and moved into their diversity coach track, which then led me to eventually leave that organization and now start my own coaching business.
I love that you shared that journey of how you were really struck by what happened with George Floyd and decided kind of on a whim to sign up with CoachDiversity. And then suddenly you're like, I want this to be my work, which you really leaned into that. Had you ever considered coaching as something you were going to do when you were a kid?
I hadn't, and actually, as a manager and leader over the years, I felt I was coaching people, and then actually understanding the difference between coaching versus mentoring versus leading, very different. So having that pivot of a true coaching foundation was very appealing to me. It felt like all of the different skill sets I had acquired over the years, because I'm a learning obsession. So I kind of dabble in everything, that this really feels like it's a point where it pulls all of those together, and it just felt right.
That's awesome. And I love that you point out there's a difference between leading teams, mentoring, and coaching. How would you describe that difference when you think about those three terms?
Oh, great question. Yeah, well, there's so much I've learned about myself, just even going through the coach journey, as far as going through it as a client, as you do in your programs, and then also through Positive Intelligence is another program I've went through. And between those two, just even learning about how I am showing up as an individual and having my own awareness, like that for me is kind of that starting point, like our own awareness of who we are as individuals and how we're responding to others. So definitely from a leader perspective, in the past, I was more of a manager and more of here's what we need to do, who wants to do what, and feeling like I was empowering the team. Yet really at the end of the day, I wasn't. I was saying, here are the things to do, or here's kind of the umbrella in which to do those, but yet not really giving full empowerment and autonomy to that, or really addressing root issues. So there very much is a difference there of being able to see how you can help transform disbelief, people's disempowering beliefs and what that may look like.
You have a really great way of describing how that transition happened for you and that transformation, and how you're applying your different skill sets that you have from your corporate experience and incorporating that within your coaching practice. Before we jump into what your current coaching practice looks like, I wanted to highlight your mission statement, which you shared with me prior to this interview. And you shared with me that your mission is to guide others through their goal realization and lighten any weight in their soul by learning to pause judgment of themselves and others. I thought that was a really powerful statement, and I really wanted to share that because I think that touches on so many different facets of the type of people you serve. So tell me a little bit more, Deb, about your coaching practice.
Yeah. For me, just coming back to that mission statement, like as I went through coaching as a client, going through the program, I felt like such a weight lifted, and that it just has resonated with me. And even 5 years ago, I was jotting down what my purpose in life is. And at that time, I had come up with to lessen the weight in other people's souls, but I didn't know how. And I kept taking the weight on myself. Like that's how I dealt with it. I'll solve that for you. I'll solve that for you. And through coaching, I really realized that transformation of we have the ability and skill to help people with that, yet we're not taking it on as an action ourselves. So I'm not taking your weight and putting it on my shoulders. I'm helping you figure out how to really move forward. And it's like everybody collectively has this weight kind of lifted. So some of the other work I do is organizational culture facilitation. So I've really been looking at pulling a package together from a individual coaching perspective to create awareness of how we are showing up as individuals when you're in cultures that are different than your own, or communities that are different than your own. And so I'm starting that with the IDI assessment, which is the intercultural development continuum. And then also looking at pulling in positive intelligence or mental fitness, as that also is referred to really look at what might be my blockers because of how I'm judging myself or how I'm entering this space. And with mental fitness, their framework talks about saboteurs. So it's what are those things that are potentially holding us back? They're a good alert for us. Yet if you don't act on them or try to shut down that and bring it into a positive light, it can really erode a situation fairly quickly.
I love that you mentioned positive intelligence. You're actually the third person I've interviewed for Meet the Coach who uses that framework. So I will link below this video for the listeners who are listening today. If you haven't heard our previous Meet the Coach interviewees, please make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can receive this on a monthly basis. But we have talked about positive intelligence before, so see the video description for the link to that program if that interests you and would benefit your own coaching practice. So Deb, let's talk about what's awesome about coaching, because obviously you're new to coaching and you are developing what that looks like for your business and how you serve people. What do you absolutely love about your coaching practice?
I love the fact that we have, as coaches, have an opportunity to really transform lives. Like change starts with an individual. And the fact that each individual, we have the opportunity and pleasure and trust to interact with, we have it upon ourselves to be able to transform someone's thinking, someone's life by helping them see a different perspective. We're not trying to change who they are, but we're really helping them see what they already know within them, that they just have a blinder and are not able to see. That's what's amazing to me about this space that we're in.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. That's one of the things I love the most about being a coach as well. And I work mostly with individuals. Do you work with individuals privately? Do you do group work, or a combination of both?
Great question. Yeah, I do a combination of both. And what I'm looking at in my package offerings has that opportunity for both. I'm also looking at leveraging positive intelligence with families. And that's something I'm piloting right now. I just really feel myself going through that, how transformative that can be, especially in situations where you may be on very different perspectives of thinking. Mm-hmm.
Especially after the past 2 years of pandemic life, I'm sure many families have come to some harsh realizations about how they interact with each other. So I can see how this would be a really awesome program. We'll definitely check it out, Deb. Well, one of the things that frequently comes up when I'm chatting with potential clients for my coaching is they will say, what philosophy to use? What framework do you use? What are the tools and resources that you can provide to me as a client? So throwing that question back at you, Deb, what are your favorite tools, resources, podcasts, books, or anything that helps keep your coaching skills really sharp?
Yeah, I am kind of have a learning obsession. So I am constantly looking at books, podcasts, and I really have to say, being a newer coach, some of my greatest conversations have been with ICF Minnesota members of, and especially being a business of one. It's a great place to be able to have some different conversations with others. There's a book club that is focused typically on coaching books coming up. Yeah, there's different ones that will be happening each year. That's a great way to also have dialogue. Yeah, I don't have a particular go-to. I'm constantly looking at new books, and I've got a whole bookshelf of all the books I've ordered this year, and I need to just take like 3 months off and read them all. But for me, it's that having the conversation with other individuals, and then I would also say any opportunities to be able to watch how other people coaching. So that's something we're also talking about within our professional development for ICF Minnesota, is how might we bring that in where people have the opportunity to watch a coach coach another person. And to me, it's everybody has a different framework, a different style, and that is really insightful to have the opportunity to watch some of that. That's where I've learned a lot.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing. I'm excited about this possibility within ICF Minnesota to allow people to practice their coaching skills. And I've heard many other coaches within ICF tell me how important it is for them, whether they work internally with a company or externally as a solopreneur coach. It's important for them to engage in community. So I love that you share that that's really important to you, and that's something you like to plug into, and it helps your learning journey as well. So thank you for sharing more about that. This is a good segue, if you will. How has ICF Minnesota in particular helped you develop and grow as a coach?
Yeah, for me, I've learned a lot, like especially looking at this year, early in the year, there was a discussion looking at some of the professional development events. And those were all pre-planned before I joined the board. So I'm not taking credit for any of the awesome work that's in play. There was a really good discussion around ethics. So being new to that, I hadn't really thought about the note taking and how long you keep those documents and what you're writing in your notes. And it was a really good discussion in our breakouts. Another one this year was around social media. And I thought there was some really good nuggets in that, again, as somebody who's running their own business and, all the facets that come with that. It's another great way to just, here's a targeted content that I can, have some takeaways from that. So that, and then again, the connections I've made through ICF. And I know it's a little bit more challenging in hybrid, being able to share contact information. So we're working on some strategies for that as well, of how might we do that in some of our sessions.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I do want to, give a nod to our professional development team. They have done a fabulous job of putting together monthly events, as well as a combination of virtual events. We're going back to in-person in May, our first time going in person in many, many months, if not a year or two. I haven't been that long a member of ICF. But I feel that professional development team has been doing a great job of staying flexible and adaptable, especially with our new mission and values that incorporate more areas of diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. So I think it's important for us to stay flexible to our members' needs. And I think, Deb, you and your team are doing a fabulous job within professional development of making sure we're meeting our coaches where they are currently in their practice today. So thank you so much. You are a part of that mission, even if you feel like you're rather new to the team, you are still a part of that mission. So I do appreciate the work you're doing there. Tell us a little bit, you mentioned a little bit about doing positive intelligence work with families. What are some other upcoming events or programs you would really like to share with our folks here at ICF Minnesota?
That I'm personally doing? Yeah, that, and then I'm also putting a kind of a package together around that cultural awareness for individuals that are interested in how they're showing up themselves. And I really like the IDI assessment has a fantastic framework that comes with an individual development plan. And so it's a great way as an individual, if your employer is not doing anything in the space, looking at how you're creating an environment of belonging, it's a really good way as an individual of like, well, what can I do myself to really see how you are showing up in spaces? And I was first certified in November of 2020, and I recently retook the assessment because I was just curious myself, and I was surprised at how much it had moved forward in a progressive way on the continuum. And I've done a lot of work in the last year and a half. So it really just helped me authentically know this is a good measurement. And again, it's a measurement. It's not the, telling you everything. It's just a point in time assessment, but it gives a really good indicator of just how much exposure you've had to other cultures and what might you do to really be able to understand cultures that are different than your own.
I think that's such a powerful tool and awareness to create within individuals, because I know one of the first questions that I noticed springing up after George Floyd and all of the things that happened after that time was, what can we do as individuals? And there were no good answers at that time. What can we do as individuals? Some people joined book clubs, tried to participate in discussions, participated in artistic endeavors across the city. There were a lot of different questions of how can I make a difference as an individual? And I think the fact that you're rising up to serve people in that manner and say, here's something you could do, and we can measure your progress along the spectrum of what that cultural awareness is. I think that's a really powerful service that you provide to people. So thank you for sharing more about that. Just out of curiosity, because we have to sometimes, we talk about something without defining what it is. What does cultural awareness mean to you?
Great question. Yeah. For me, it's really understanding ultimately how I'm showing up and really checking, where am I having some bias that I'm not even aware of? How much am I assuming we all are the same versus really appreciating the uniqueness and backgrounds from different cultures? And that is, to me, the culture awareness. And for an example, I was recently in a conversation with a Black woman, and we were talking about a strategy. And one of the pillars was around making sure we're valuing the life of every human. And she recommended that be reworded to individual, and indicated, as a Black woman, human is not a word that is something that resonates with her. For all the years in the history in which that has not been associated with Black individuals. So as a white person, that is on me to lean in and understand how life is so different from my own in other areas. And so that's just one example, and that was just recently. And so there's so much, especially, I'm just putting this out there for, Caucasians to really lean in and understand, and, also different cultures, cisgender, looking at, again, communities that are not your own, and what might those experiences be for individuals that are in a community that is different than your own.
Thank you for sharing your definition. I love understanding where people are coming from, what their philosophy is in the work they do. And like I said, sometimes we talk about an idea or a topic without actually defining what it is. So thank you for indulging me with that question. Where can we connect with you, Deb?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I have a website, and then also my email. I know that will be shared in the link with the video.
Absolutely, yeah. So folks, do check out Deb. Her website is listed below this video. Do say hi to her on LinkedIn. I notice she's very active on LinkedIn, so that's probably the best place to connect with her. Now, I always like to throw a little bit of a additional question that's kind of off the cuff, so hopefully you can roll with this, Deb. What are 3 things we may not know about you from either your website or your professional bios? What are 3 things?
3 things. So I'm a processor. So to try to do this on the fly, I am the 5th child of 6, which I think lend itself well to coaching because I grew up as an observer. I learned so much of what not to do from my older siblings. So I'll share that. 2 other things. I have a son who is late 20s. And 3rd thing, I'm kind of gapping on a 3rd one at the moment.
Is there a special hobby or passion you have outside of the work you do?
I do. I used to run a lot, and now it's become more of a fast walking, but trying to get back into that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
When you say you used to run, does that mean you did like 5Ks or races, or you just ran for enjoyment?
Enjoyment, and then I also did, quite a few half marathons, but yeah.
Well, that's nothing to sneeze at, so I'm surprised you didn't bring that up. Awesome. Well, I just want to give you a moment of gratitude, Deb. Thank you so much for being here for May's Meet the Coach interview. For those of you who are listening, Meet the Coach is a monthly interview feature. You can go on camera like Deb and I are today, or you can just provide a written description of the work you do within your coaching practice. This is a feature and a benefit that's available to all ICF chapter members. If you're not a member of ICF, no problem. See below this video for how you can join us or how you can attend our next event. Remember, we do have monthly events. And this interview is published in both our Catalyst newsletter, which goes to all of our members, but it is also published to YouTube. So if you're seeing this video on YouTube, give us a like, make sure to share some love with Deb, and check out her links below this video. Anything which you would like to leave us with, Deb, as we close today's interview?
I just, want to appreciate the opportunity to be here, and for other coaches, know you're not alone. There's a whole community out there, and we're here to support one another.
Awesome. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much. This concludes this month's interview. Stay tuned for next month. We actually have people booked up through the next few months, but I would love to connect with you. My email will be located below this video if you want to connect with me and be featured on our next newsletter. Thank you so much, Deb.